and others. Police are now conducting public searches, hoping to net drug cartels and drug users. The state-controlled Chronicle newspaper reported recently that over 30 youths were admitted to a local hospital in Bulawayo after taking an overdose of drugs. Namhlanje izulukandaba sixoxa ngezidakamizwa eZimbabwe ukhanyangazanise ezithwalise nzima abantu abanengi. Amapolisa aqhuba umkhankaso wokunqabela ukusetshenziswa kwezidakamizwa oqale eHarare ngeviki ephelileyo. Namhla kusungulwe uhlelo olufanayo koBulawayo. Kubika ukuba kulabatsha labanye abantu abaningi kakhulu abathatha izidakamizwa. Abatsha abafika 10 abedlula 10 amathathu basanda kuhanjiswa esibhedlela koBulawayo kusukana ezidluleyo kulandela ukuthatha kwabo izidakamizwa. The public anti-drug abuse campaign launched by stakeholders in Bulawayo highlighted the dangers of drug abuse. One of the people who was at the roadblock mounted to impound drugs and inform citizens about dangers of drug abuse was Police Assistant Commissioner Patson Nyabatsa.
Most of the youth are being found wanting in this respect. And what are we saying now to the members of the public? We are urging the members of the public to come up board and inform the police, disclosing the sources, the areas where the peddling is most rampant. And we will not disclose the source of information where necessary. Our aim is to curtail this menace. We want to arrest those who are peddling the drug substances and also those who are abusing them.
That was Police Assistant Commissioner Patson Nyabatsa speaking to our correspondent Ezra Chisaspanda in Bulawayo. Our correspondent also spoke to Criminal Investigations Department Detective Constable Modimu.
Mama baba wazi wena ngohlala sokubonisa nama-drugs lapho ngibani.
Now, what do you see from CD drugs and narcotics, Southern region?
Namhlanje sibonele uhlelo lakho kwenzakalani la.
Namhlanje sihlangana nezakhamizi zakoBulawayo siyenza i-campaign at the same time sisearcha. Namhlanje siyabakhuthaza ukuthi bengasebenzisi izidakamizwa silapha ku-roadblock e-flyover kuLuveve Road. Sibakhuthaza ukuthi bengasebenzisi izidakamizwa lezi zinto abangaziqapheli ukuthi bezibone endlini ukuthi kungaba into engaba yini ukuthi umntwana kumbe ubaba kumbe umzawa wabo abebelawo endlini ngabe sebenzisa izidakamizwa.
Ukhulume ngendaba yokuthi amaphilisi ethengwa phandle kwelizwe lawa kavunyelwa la.
Yeah, thina lapha kwelakithi we have a board which is MCAZ, board etesta ama-drugs wonke, anything that has got a medicinal claim yiyo etesta i-approve ukuthi into le ilungele ukuthi umuntu ngokwelakithi lapha eZimbabwe ayisebenzise. So abantu, we find people buying imithi from Zambia, from SA, from Botswana. Imithi yona leyo yabe nga-approvanga yi-MCAZ, so iyabe illegal ukuthi ibe kwelakithi.
Laba belatshwa ngaphandle kwelizwe manje bezele bethi ababuya la.
Laba ababe behambe phandle kwelizwe uyabe ubhalelwe ule mithi yakho elingene ekhanyayo ukuthi le ngeyomuntu oyedwa ukuthi ayisebenzise for isikhathi esithile.
And Ezra Chisaspanda also spoke to Tswakai Fikile Maroba-Tsanga, a local government official who was also there. So now let's see whether we can get a video of the government official Tswakai Fikile Maroba-Tsanga.
Mama lingazithi ukuthi ngubani livela ngabe njalo?
Ibizo lami ngitshaga Fikile Maroba-Tsanga, Deputy Director ku local government ngivela ku Minister, ngimelele uMinister of State for Bulawayo province, and silapha ukuthi sizocampaigna against i-drug abuse eyenzakalayo esigabeni sethu lapha koBulawayo. I am sure it's also happening elsewhere, kubo Harare and everywhere else khona lapha eZimbabwe. Sesikhathazekile kakhulu, so amapholisa asebuyile lapha ukuthi amise izimota bekhuluma against i-drug abuse. sixwayisa abantu ukuthi please bananzelele bahambe bayebika emapholiseni nxa kuyikuthi abantwana bayasebenzisa ama-drugs ayingozi kakhulu ngoba isizwe sethu sesiphelile siyananzelela ukuthi abantwana bethu akuseze kube le-future nxa besebenzisa ama-drugs. Siyacela kakhulu ukuthi bonke bona laba abasebenzisa ama-drugs bacetshelwe emapholiseni. Amapholisa kasoze ahambe ekhuluma ukuthi khona nguzibani ositshelileyo. Sizama ukuthi senqabele isizwe sethu lapha eZimbabwe ukuthi abantwana bengasebenzisi ama-drugs. Siyacela kakhulu even kuma-families laba abayabe bekhona, siyacela ukuthi babakhuphe bahambe labo emapholiseni bazama ukuthi bayekwelatshwa bayenze i-rehab. Usetshilo ngaphambilini ubaba ukuthi kuza-affecta the whole clan eyomuzi nxa kuyikuthi kulomntwana oyi-1 khona lapho emzini osebenzisa ama-drugs. It means ukuthi wonke ama-siblings akhe azagcina esesebenzisa ama-drugs and i-clan yona leyo izaphela. That tribe is going to get finished and it will also affect iZimbabwe yonke. Thina sesikhulile sesikhangelele kubo bona laba abantwana ukuthi yibo abazakuba ngama-leaders kusasa, kodwa-ke nxa besebenzisa ama-drugs it means ama-drugs wona lawa aya-affecta i-brains zabo, aya-affecta i-health yabo. So sizaba le-very unhealthy population, unhealthy kusasa, and akusoze kube le-development eZimbabwe. So siyacela kakhulu ukuthi please asiripotenini emapholiseni wonke abantu abasebenzisa ama-drugs ukwenzela ukuthi bathole uncedo.
That was Tsvagai Fikile Marubatsanga, a local government official who was at the roadblock in Bulawayo when the police were conducting an operation to clamp down against those people who are selling and taking drugs. Bulawayo police spokesperson Apet Niko Ncube was also at the roadblock telling the public to stay away from drugs.
At a launch, provincial launch against drugs in Bulawayo province. And what I'm holding is what we recovered. These are mbanje seeds, which some of the passengers or one of the passengers threw outside the bus, fearing a search which we were conducting. And this is cocaine that was also thrown through the window of a bus which was passing by in fear of being arrested. This operation is there as a launch to warn members of the public against drug abuse. And we're inviting all stakeholders, members of the public, school children, everyone you name them, to join hands with the Zimbabwe Public Police in the fight against drugs. And at this instance, we're saying anyone who will be found smoking or being drunk due to drugs will be arrested. And the objective will be to find the drug lord and the supplier. So members of public are requested and we are appealing that they support the police and the government in the fight against drugs. We have been stopping motorists, both public and private motor vehicles, carrying out some campaigns, making some awarenesses that people should know that drugs are threatening to destroy the lives of our children, our youth, and our future. So as Bulawayo, let's join the country, let's join the world in the fight against drugs. Thank you.
That was Apet Niko Ncube, inspector who is the official spokesperson of the Bulawayo police. Let's take a brief break.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depend on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
joining us right now to discuss this issue, we have Miss Angela Dube, who is a social worker based in the United Kingdom. Ms. Dube, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. So we're talking about drug abuse, and I guess you've been, working, with some of the people that are actually affected by drugs and, all those kind of things as a social worker. So tell us about what actually drives people to take drugs in the first instance.
I think there's a lot of reasons. The first one, especially among the children and the youth, is peer pressure. One starts and then everyone else joins in. It's the right thing to do. It's the cool thing to do. The other one is a quick buck. They start as selling the drugs. You're being asked to run around or drop a twist here or there. And then, you get paid. And then that escalates. And then eventually they are doing class A drugs and they are pushing more drugs. The other one is just, curiosity among the youth or among young children. They are curious. So sometimes they are adventurous. They want to try new things and they don't know the harm. Another reason is obviously that they maybe see it in the home. Maybe there's people who do it in the home. So it continues as a script within some families that they've always observed it and they've normalized it. In this country, we also do run what we call a national referral mechanism. So in other words, we recognize that children are very vulnerable and that they can be used or coerced or forced to be involved in the drug trade or in using the drugs. And therefore, they become indebted. And then the more they sink into debt, then the more they are being sucked into it. And also talking about the police roadblocks that take place or, police searching for drugs randomly and they are caught out. If those drugs are confiscated, then it means that child or that young person is owing to the drug baron. And so the cycle continues that they cannot stop using them or that they cannot stop possession with intent to supply.
So we can simply say that it's a lot of, issues that are involved here before somebody becomes a drug pusher. But at the end of the day, it just becomes something that goes into, let's say, habitual kind of practice. Like somebody has got a taste for cocaine, and somebody has got a taste for marijuana, and some person is sort of like unfortunate to be in a situation where you have to sell those drugs in order to earn a living. But is it easy to actually control some of these things?
No, I don't think it's easy because there are other reasons that drive it. And there are other environmental factors that drive it. One of them is poverty. The other one is, like I said, peer pressure, where young people are observing other people having things. Children are into brands, and they want to be seen as having brands, having the latest phone, having the latest this and the latest that, and it looks like it's a cool thing to do. So there is a variety of reasons that drive them, and therefore it is very difficult to control.
Now, looking at the drug menace in Zimbabwe, we see that the police have actually launched an anti-drugs campaign, anti-drugs abuse campaign. So do you think that they are going to manage to say best some of the drug cartels or actually arrest some of the drug pushers? How difficult is it to arrest them and so forth?
I think the difficulty is that you actually end up arresting the millions. So it's the little ones right at the bottom of that food chain. And the big drug lords are sitting right at the top there. They are untouched. They are not physically involved. And so the police never get to them. So we always say one child safe is better than nothing. So whatever little that the police can do, I think in a way it's a step back, pushing back, whether it's one step or two steps. We always encourage that.
Yes, ke sikhulume ngesika mama lapha ke isintu. Sikhulume ngakhona ke okubhekane labantu. Singathi ke nxa sokubuya ama drugs ngabantu abasakhulayo kumbe qalume kancane emadube nithathe ikhola le thathe ikhola le esekole. Khola, how are you doing?
Hello mkoma Gibbs makadiko.
No, ndiripo wangu makadi ishe.
Aiwa ndinofara chaizvo mkoma Gibbs.
Ndikutaura nani?
Ndipinza nechiro. Na mkoma Donald Mamboma.
Oh Mamboma, muri boyre.
Aiwa ndinofara chose mkoma wangu makadiko koko.
Bishana, so achitaure nenyaya yemadrugs uri kuona sei?
Zviri kuitika munyika medu zvavakunyadzisa mukoma wangu. Zvinonyadzisa chaizvo, zvinoshoresa. Zvinhu zvemadrugs nezvinodhaka izvi zvinhu zvatasingazivi mukoma Gibbs. Handizivi kuti vanasorojena vakaenda kupi, kuti vakapera kufa here, zvokuti pashayiwawo kana anodzidza kana anotsiura. Nyika yedu yanga isingazikamwe pazvinhu zvakashata kudai. Nyika yedu yanga ine mbiri yezvinhu zvakanaka, but pazvasvika apa zvavakunyadzisa.
Zvinokonzerwa nei? Zvinokonzerwa nezvi?
Zvinokonzerwa nekushayikwa kwamabasa 1. Kana nyika ikanyanya kuita nhamo 2. Nokuti nyika yedu mukatarisa kuti haina mabasa. Saka muchaona kuti mumwe munhu anokwanisa kungorega chikoro achingoti hanyange ndikadzidza ndozoendepi, achiona kana mukoma wake ane degree anenge agara pamba asina kana basa achitengesa airtime. Zvodiscourage vana izvozvo kuti saka ndokudzidza kupedza nguva nokupedza mari yababa yekuferedza kuita chikoro. Mukoma wangu ane degree ane masters akagara pano 1. Muri kuona? Saka zvinongobva zvinouraya spirit yemwana, hazvimotivheti mwana kana achiri mudiki. Nokuti kana achiona kuti mukoma wako akaenda kuuniversity akanopedza degree akaenda mhiri kwamakungwa akamboita masters akadzoka ouya otengesa airtime. Kana uri mudiki kana uri munin'ina hazvikumotivheti nokuti zvoita kana kuti munhu anoinspire confidence mufamily. Ndokana zvakadai sezvizvi kusina mabasa. Mudoko wacho anenge ari anongoti saka ndokwere ndichizvinetsa nekuita chikoro. Mukoma wangu vari kungotambura vari pamba tichirima tese kana kuti zvotobva zvauraya spirit yemwana kutanga kujoina zvinodhaka kana kuteverana nezvekusudha izvi.
Kandai mashoko enyu okupedzisira
inongova nyaya kuadresa nyaya iyoyo kunofanirwa kungoadresa nyaya dzeekonomi kunyanya nezenyaya dzemamiriro akaita zvinhu munyika. Kunyatso kuadresa nyaya yemadrugs. Nokuti tosera kushayikwa kwezvokuita ndokunokonzera zvinhu zvakadaro izvozvo. Hakuna zvokuita munyika. Vanhu vanoguma kudzidza zvinhu zvakashata asi ndizikuri kuti hangu handisi kuzvitsigira asi ndingoti ndo maonero andikuzviita.
Ndatenda pamamboma musanete baba.
Aiwa ndatenda mukoma wangu. Mova nezuva rakanaka nenguva yakanaka nevateereri vose.
Thank you very much.
Ino yemandoro kwati.
Thank you very much. For those that have just joined us, please note that we are streaming the discussion live on our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We're also live on YouTube, VOA Zimbabwe. You can also find us on our websites, www.voandebele.com, www.voashona.com, and www.voazimbabwe.com. You can also send us a message right now on all our social media platforms. And tonight we've got a social scientist, and that is Miss Angela Dube. She's based in the UK. So Miss Dube, bezabuza lapha ngesintu ukuthi kambe konokuke okwenzakalayo abantu bethatha izidakamizwa lezinto ezinjalo. Ukubona ngazani ukumemetheka kwakhona kwenziwa kuyini xa ungamphendula ngesintu khona?
Angibanga baba ukuthi
ukumemetheka
yini ukuthi
kuyini okwenza ukuthi uthatha izidakamizwa lokhu kumemetheke kakhulu kangaka ikakhulu eZimbabwe lamanye amazwe kwenziwa kuyini?
Hayi izathu ziningi. I think khona okokuqala ukuthi vele umhlaba susiba mncane. Umhlaba susiba mncane nje abantu yonke into isihamba yonke indawo. Sokule lokho kuthiwa yi-social media sokuxoxisana ngobulembu abantu sebesizwa ngezinto lokuthi izinto ezingena eZimbabwe seziningi okuthiwa ngama-import and export. Sokwandile, so ukudla okuningi kweZimbabwe kuvela okunye sokuvela kwamanye amazwe, into esizisebenzayo sezivela kwamanye amazwe. So kulula ukuthi into lezonezi zingene, whether ngama-drugs kumbe butshwala kumbe kuyini okudakayo. So kulula ukuthi kungene ngoba le ndlela zokuhambisa izinto seziziningi.
Nxa sikhangeleke singathi kunzima kanganani ukunqabela khonokho Matobe?
Hayi kunobunzima baba, kodwa abantu ngingathi mina umuzi ngomuzi yikho kumele kuqale khona ukuthi abazali lezihlobo bakhangele okuzwayo ukuthi kwenzakalani emntwaneni. Ngibona ngani olunye uhlupho ukuthi abantwana kasakhangeli, njalo sesilahla umkhuba lwana ukuthi labo makhelwane umntwana ngokawonke umuntu. So kuloba khona okhuyana. So abantu sebephonga ukukhangela, njalo abantwana bakathesa abasakhuzwa ngomunye umuntu ongasomzali wakhe. So sesilahla amasiko ethu lobuntu bethu okade sibenza okade kuvikela abantwana.
So siphinde futhi sibuyele esikulungwini lapha sikhulume ngesikhiwa sibile ukuthi you have got this experience of interacting with people who have been taking drugs, like, you know, as a social worker. So now tell us about your experience in terms of, you know, what you have seen going around, you know, with these people that take drugs. You know, is it easy to handle them? Are they violent? You know, can they be back in society at one stage or the other?
I think the experience is very varied. It can range from them having what we call a psychotic episode. So in other words, it affects whatever drug they've been using, can affect their brain to the point that they are no longer able to manage their emotions or the way their brain is functioning. So that then can lead to them getting hospitalized. So they get sectioned, what's called section. So the equivalent in our country would be having them actually getting admitted to a place like Engujed, which is a mental health institution. The other one is that sometimes, because I work with families with children, it impacts on their care of the children. So they can neglect the children because they are no longer emotionally available for the children or even physically available. So it can impact on how they care for the children. So children can get neglected, especially the young and vulnerable children can get neglected by parents. But also it can lead to violence. It can lead to misunderstandings. It also means that the legal resources that are available for families are being misused to buy drugs and substances at the expense of providing for the family and buying things that are to help the family to live. So in other words, the living expenses money gets diverted and feeding the children doesn't then become a priority. So we see that all the time as well.
And at the same time, what happens when parents are the ones that are taking drugs? What happens in that kind of case?
Yeah, so one of the things is that children are seeing this and children get traumatized. Children may again see it and normalize it and think that's how they should live, that's how everyone lives. And then they normalize taking drugs and substances. And that's what I was talking about, the fact that it can then become a family script, that then is passed from generation to generation and family to family. The other one is that it then leads to poverty because, like I say, the family resources are being used elsewhere. But it then also affects the parents trying to hold or keep a job or to actually have a drive and be motivated to do something useful with their lives, or to actually prioritize making sure that the children outcomes as they grow are optimized. So in other words, parents could lose, for example, making sure that the child has done their homework, making sure that the child has a clean uniform for school, making sure that the child is going to school the next day, because they are either passed out or they are not in that space where they are paying due diligence. So the impact can be great. It can sometimes cause homelessness because the bills are not being paid, including rent, and families can get evicted. So it's got a lot of impact. Another impact is actually destroying families. So families are splitting up, families are not talking together, families are in disagreement, and at times there is even fight within the family. So the impact of drug misuse is very high and it's very costly for families.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu ke Madube, sicela ubambe khonapho ke siyabona ke kulabantu abathumeza ama messages on Facebook, Vio Ishona, Vio Studio 7 kanye la ku Vio Ndebele. So kulomunye umuzi lapha uthumeze umlayezelo uthi ya ama drugs lawa asesiphucele abantu. Kulobuhlungu obumangalisayo esibubonayo eZimbabwe. So ke sizacela uMadube esitshele ukuthi kambe kungavinjwa njani konke lokho. Mbona zana kuye wakhuluma ngakho kancane angathi fatla njalo. So ke kuzobuya lomunye uthi ngushoko uthi ama drugs awuranyika. So uthi ama drugs ke asebulele ilizwe. So ke siphinde njalo silomunye uthi nguanele. Uanele laye uyakhonona sibili ngama drugs lawa uthi abantwana bethu kanye labantu abadala bathatha ama drugs mahlana nje. So kusibisele emuva uthi kubeke njalo. So ke hayi siyabonga kakhulu kubini lonke elithumeza imlayezelo yenu lokunye okutshiyeneyo. Sacela ke uMadube briefly Miss Dube maybe your last word ungathini ke nxa wasiphosela khonapho I last word yakho.
Mina I-last word yami baba ukuthi charity begins at home. Each family unit, abazali, abantwana asikhangelane nini. Let's make sure asenzeni.
Just hold on 1 second, Madube. Hold on, I've got Inspector Abednego Ncube. Baba Ncube, ufike ekucineni kweshow. Can you tell us about your campaign, anti-drugs campaign, briefly, sir? Inspector Ncube, uyangizwa baba?
Yeah.
Yes, can you tell us about the anti-drugs campaign that we're doing in Bulawayo today? Just briefly. Ngesilungu baba. I think we've got a bad line there. Madube sibonge kakhulu la kuwe sesiqeda isikhathi sakho bewusithi nje uzasithi fatla ekucineni khonapho kodwa ke isikhathi sesidliwe ngumangoye. So we think we've come to the end of our show today. We wish to thank our guest, Miss Angela Stube, and our listener who actually called today. Let's meet again next time. This is Gibbs Stube in Washington, D.C. saying good night, Zimbabwe.